Mercy, her younger brother Tope, 10, and her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adebayo, driving into a quiet, run-down neighborhood in Lagos. The car's headlights cut through the dark, revealing a shadowy compound in disrepair, with faded paint, cracked walls, and a musty smell that hangs in the air. As they step out, a few neighbors cast wary glances from their doorways. Mercy feels uneasy, but she brushes it off, trying to appear brave for Tope, who clutches her hand tightly. They are greeted by Mama Busy, an elderly woman who manages the compound and lives in the corner apartment. She has a watchful, serious expression, and her voice is a hushed warning. Make sure your doors are locked at night. And don't wander the courtyard after sundown, she says, her eyes darting to the ancient tree in the courtyard. This compound, it has its spirits. Mercy's mother laughs politely, dismissing it as superstition. But Mama Busy's gaze lingers on Mercy, who shivers under the intensity of her stare. As the family settles in, Mercy tries to sleep in her small room overlooking the courtyard. But at exactly 3 a.m., she's jolted awake by a soft, persistent tapping on her door. Confused and unnerved, she sits up and listens, feeling her skin crawl. Tap. 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 Mercy holds her breath, trying to convince herself it's just her imagination. But then, the faint sound of someone whispering her name reaches her ears. Mercy, let me in. She feels an icy chill. Heart pounding, she forces herself to stay silent, remembering Mama Busy's warning. She's too scared to open the door but too afraid to ignore it completely. She spends the rest of the night curled up in her bed, wide-eyed. The next day, Mercy bumps into Funk, a girl around her age, in the courtyard. Funk is quiet and serious, with a worn look that belies her young age. Mercy hesitantly asks if Funk had anything unusual the previous night. Funk's face goes pale. So, you had it too? The tapping. Funk explains that at 3 a.m. each night, the night visitor goes from door to door, whispering and knocking. No one knows what happens if you open the door, she adds, her voice barely a whisper. But some people, they disappear. And others, well, they go mad. Mercy tries to laugh it off, but Funk's expression is dead serious. If you don't believe me, just ask around. Tope befriends a quiet, mysterious neighbor, Mr. Okon, a man in his 50s who often mutters to himself. He warns Tope about the courtyard tree, which he says breathes that night. His rumblings unsettle Tope, who shares this with Mercy. The siblings soon realize Mr. Okon used to be a respected professor, but he started losing his mind after a series of encounters with the night visitor. Another neighbor, Mrs. Ena, tries to be friendly, but she behaves erratically, always talking about the voices that won't leave her alone. Both neighbors are haunted and disturbed, adding to Mercy's growing unease. At exactly 3 a.m., the tapping returns. This time, it's louder, more insistent, and seems to echo down the hallway. Mercy lies awake, her heart racing. She hears faint scratching sounds, like nails dragging across her door. Mercy, the voice whispers, low and chilling. Come, to me. Mercy can't shake the feeling that something is watching her. She tries to ignore it, but then she hears footsteps moving toward Tope's room. Frantic, she rushes to his door and stands guard, her heart hammering. The footsteps stop, and the whisper fades. Desperate for answers, Mercy seeks out Mama Busy. The old woman reluctantly agrees to tell her the story. Years ago, a notorious cult leader lived in the compound. He was rumored to practice dark rituals under the ancient tree in the courtyard, using innocent people to summon powerful, malevolent spirits. One night, he mysteriously vanished, and the hauntings began soon after. The tree holds his spirit, Mama Busy explains, crossing herself. Every soul taken by him is trapped here. The night visitor is always looking for another soul to claim. Mama Busy advises Mercy to place a Bible by her door and never speak to the visitor, no matter how much it whispers. Mercy notices the courtyard tree begins to change, it seems darker, with twisted branches forming almost human-like shapes. On a rainy afternoon, she stands in the courtyard, mesmerized by the tree, when she hears faint voices emanating from its bark. She sees faces, distorted, mournful faces, emerging within the dark bark, their eyes hollow and pleading for help. In a trance, Mercy reaches out to touch it, but Funk yanks her hand away, snapping her out of the spell. "Don't touch it," she warns. "The tree traps souls. You'll be lost if you make contact." That night, Mercy places the Bible by her door, determined to ward off the visitor. As 3 a.m. approaches, she steels herself, clutching the Bible tightly. The tapping begins, slow and steady, building up into a frantic pounding. "Let me in," the voice snarls, no longer whispering. It sounds furious, almost desperate. Mercy stands her ground, reciting a prayer her grandmother taught her. The voice wails in anger, and the doorknob twists violently. She presses her back against the door, praying louder, until finally, the voice fades, leaving only silence. Just as Mercy begins to hope it's over, her father receives notice that they have to move again, thanks to work complications. On their last night, she decides to spend a few final moments in the courtyard to say goodbye to Funk. As they stand together by the tree, Funk reveals that she can't leave the compound. "I was claimed by the visitor a long time ago," she whispers. Her face twists with sadness as she begins to fade, like smoke in the night air. "Take my memory with you, and don't look back." Horrified, Mercy realizes that Funk was never truly alive, just a trapped soul trying to help others avoid her fate. The next day, as Mercy and her family pack their belongings into the car, she glances back at the compound one last time. The courtyard tree seems darker, and she swears she can see faint faces in the back, including Funk's, watching her leave. As the car pulls away, she hears a faint whisper on the wind, echoing in her ears. "I'll always be back." In the final scene, a new family arrives at the compound. A young girl stares at the tree in the courtyard, her curiosity piqued. That night, as she settles into her new home, the tapping begins once again, drawing her closer to the door, and the night visitor's endless search for a soul to claim continues.